Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you guys to another episode. Just like DJ Kylie over here, we say another one. I'd like to introduce you guys to another episode of 18th Avenue Podcast. You are now rocking with Rico Bottles, your host. And today we have a very special guest. Extremely special. We have Haider here with us today. And you may be wondering what he does. He's an animator, and we're going to get into all that. Haider, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. I can definitely hear you.
Perfect. How you feeling, brother? What? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm feeling good, man. You know what? Like this is good. I feel like this is gonna be like good practice for like when I get on the Ellen show. If I get like on Steve Harvey, they're probably gonna think it's like gonna be like my first interview and whatnot. They're gonna be like, "Oh, you're so good at this. What's going on?" Like, I'm just gonna be like, you know what? Like I've been on Rico Balls. You guys don't even know.
Right. Yeah. So you're using me to get closer to Ellen, huh? I see how you play.
You know what?
You know she got a wife.
Oh, okay. Then you know what? I'll just go for Steve Harvey then.
Oh yeah. There you go. Wait, didn't Steve Harvey? I think he lost the show, didn't he?
Did he stop the show? Did he stop it? You know what? This guy's bouncing all over the place. I see him everywhere now, man.
Yeah, I think he lost his TV show, or both of them, because he did one with the kids. Then you had like the Steve Harvey show where he just kind of talked to. He just talked to people, the audience, and I don't know. I have no idea. He went to Africa. He's African now, so we're not trying to judge him at all.
Wasn't he an African to begin with?
No. He was an African American. There's a huge difference. Until an African American goes, let me say this to everybody, all right? If you're an African American, another word, you were born in America or you were born in Canada, you've never been back home. Until you go back home and get baptized, you're not an African yet. You're just an African Canadian or an African American. So he's a full grown African.
You know what, man? It's so funny how you say that. I feel like that's like virginity, like how you have to work harder to lose a name.
That's hilarious. So, my man, without further ado, the people want to know what you're doing on this podcast and what you have to offer them. So we're just going to get into it. To everybody out there, Haider, tell them where you are right now. Where are you?
Right now I'm in Windsor, Ontario.
Windsor, Ontario. That's right. So I mean, clearly now you get the connection. I used to live out in Windsor, and Haider, if you just want to go into the background there really quickly in terms of like how we connected, and I think it was at the Y. Let's get into that.
You know what? It's actually funny you say that because lately I was kind of like thinking about like before this podcast and whatnot. I was kind of thinking about how we met, and I remember when I first met you, man. Like you were a funny fellow. I'll tell you why. Like my impression of you was just like a funny dude that's just super relaxed. Yeah. And I remember I met you through Salim, your cousin Salim.
Yeah, Salim. Yeah.
And we were at the YMCA and whatnot, and I remember that we were kind of like working out, and Salim introduced me to you and whatnot. He's like, "Hey, listen, man, like this is my cousin," and we kind of just went off from there.
Yeah, I remembered one of the memories that actually stick out in my mind about you was you used to train with a guy. An older black gentleman used to train you.
No, I do.
Yeah. How was that? Like, what brought that up? This gentleman is training you, and you're lifting some serious weight at this time. I remember that.
So the guy, I know exactly what you're talking about. So the guy's name was Robert, and his background was a professional bodybuilder, and this guy was an absolute monster. I think he was like in his 60s and whatnot, and he was still like squatting squatting 3 plates, 4 plates, easy.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I remember when people used to speak, like he didn't tell me about this, but other people told me like in his younger days, this guy was so well respected that every time he walked into like when he walked into bars,
Mm-hmm.
he never had to buy a drink. People bought drinks for him
Because of his status.
because of the status, because of the bodybuilding thing. So the guy was really well known. Like this guy decided to train me for free for a whole 30 days, for a whole month. Um, flipped up, flipped up my workout routine like 360 degrees. This guy gave me straps. This guy gave me a belt. Like this guy gave me everything for free, and all I had to do was just listen. That's it. That's all he wanted from me. He just like, I just want you to listen to what I'm telling you, and just go through this path and don't bend it. Don't bend this path that I'm giving you. That's it. And I guess what happened is that he's come up to people before and he's given them tips, and the people that he would give them tips would kind of like shrug him off, like, "Listen, man, like I've been doing this for a while. I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're saying." Like that, like that type of body language.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what stood out from me compared to everybody else is that I just took the time to listen to his philosophy.
Wow.
So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like like that's what I guess that's what listening to somebody goes. Like it goes a long way. And like I said, man, he didn't charge me a single dollar. The one thing that he made me do differently is that we never went over 6 reps. Like it was very heavyweight, and I never touched heavyweight like that in ever up until that point. And I was working out for like I think like 4 or 5 years up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
Never touched that heavyweight. So it was really, really, really good to know and good to see like what my potential was. And nobody would like touch that potential had it not been for him. So he's a very, very memorable icon in my life.
Yeah, it's funny too because the YMCA wasn't. I mean, it wasn't a big building or anything. It's not like you could just disappear in the gym. I mean, everybody knew who everybody were, and prior to see you working out with him, I don't have any earlier memory of him. And I don't know how it happened. I just thought it was great. So now you're training with this guy. And at this point, what are you doing exactly? Are you thinking I'm going to go into fitness? When did this whole fitness thing started? Because if I'm not mistaken, I think you were going to school at one point. I don't know because I had so many conversations now. I could have you mix up with someone else. Explain that.
I want to say that I have just finished school.
Okay.
I want to say that I had just finished school and like gave me like a training philosophy and whatnot.
Right.
And then this guy just comes out of nowhere sort of thing, and he just like flips that philosophy upside down sort of thing. In a way, basically like indirectly saying, "Hey, listen, man, like whatever they're teaching you in school, um, that's just books. That's just books." He
Right.
always said that. That's just books. This is the true stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
During like my fitness career and whatnot, it was very confusing because everybody told me something different. Everybody told me like a different set range, a different rep range and whatnot.
Right.
So it was tough, man. It was tough to kind of like remold myself to that type of workout philosophy. The biggest, and like this goes for everybody that I'm speaking to right now, like the biggest misconception is that heavy weight is only for strength, and
Right.
it doesn't build muscle mass. It just makes you stronger.
Uh-huh.
I would disagree at some way, shape, or form. The reason being is because the muscle grows when it's challenged.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like life. Like you do not grow being comfortable. You have to be challenged, just like in life, to be able to grow and get stronger. The muscle is the same thing. So even if you are pumping up like 5, 6 reps per set, if you're putting up more weight, like this is what he was telling me, if you're putting up more weight than last week, if you're doing 1 extra rep, 2 extra reps more than last week, something grew. even if it's a fiber.
Mm.
So that was a huge thing, man, because it just broke this myth where it's like, okay, like people think that high rep range is for muscle growth, the low rep range is only for strength. So he shifted my mind for that, and I remember too, we had
How
like
so?
during the. I'll tell you why, because people seen what he was doing. People seen what he was telling me to do. He was telling me like to lift like a barbell and to curl like 135 pounds.
Right.
And so basically what that looks like, it's basically like a bar and 45 on
On
each
each
side,
side.
like a 45 plate.
Right.
So yeah, he was telling me to curl that. Um, and he was telling me at one point, he's like, listen, man, even if you use your back, just get it up there.
It was that you were doing some crazy weights. I mean, but this wasn't day one because I remembered a few episodes where I'm at the gym doing whatever I'm supposed to be doing there, just helping out other people. And you and him would come in and I would hear him say, you know what, just put it up. Just put it up. I remember when you first started doing the 60s where you would curl 60s. And he was said it doesn't matter if you're working out to gain strength, you just need to put the weights up. Like especially when you're working on power, it's when you're working to be more cut, more definition. It's when you start to worry about all the other things as far as like your form and posture and all of those things go. That's when am I correct so far? Did this sound like some
Yeah, you are.
conversation you guys had? Yeah, because I thought I would eavesdrop and whatnot because I figure he must know what he's doing. I got you lifting these crazy weights and I'm like, whoa, that's that's nuts.
A lot of times he would tell me to just put it up. That's it. Like I said, that's why I bring like the barbell curl. The barbell curl is very iconic, is because it's when you think about cheating, when you tell somebody to not cheat, the first example you give them is a barbell curl. Don't use your back.
Right.
So, and that's exactly what he was doing. He was telling me, hey, listen, man, like even if you have to use your back, just put that thing up there.
When did you say, yo, you know what? Um, I'm grateful for all this experience and I have this massive weight on now and I am going to when did you jump from that to filming and recording and doing comedy sketches? Get into that.
This is what I'm confused about. I don't know whether I was training with that man before, during, or after the school. I can't really tell you exactly now that you mention it.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The thing, like in terms of the way that I ended it with him, I'm not the one that ended it. He did.
Okay.
The way that ended was basically like he basically after a month he's like, you know what, man, like you basically have the routine nailed down. I showed you what because after that month it was basically like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. One of the most important things he taught me though was recording my numbers. And when he introduced that to me, it was really weird. It was kind of odd because you don't see anybody at the gym doing that nowadays. You do not see any. It's very rare to see somebody take out their phone and to record or take out
And
like a
keep
notepad.
track of the numbers. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I'm pretty
You know
like
what I mean?
I actually when I go there now. Sorry, not to cut you off. We'll get back to that, but
Hmm. Do your thing, man.
over the summer when I was seriously working out, I would record my number, but then I found like it was taking too much time. I got to take the film out, and I don't have a lot of time because I do have to go through my routine as quickly as I can in the morning. I'm talking like 4 a.m. in the morning, 4 a.m. Like I'm up, I'm in the gym at that time. So having between recording my numbers and doing my routine and getting out of there and getting ready for work, it was crazy work for me. And I just felt like, I mean, I could see the advantages, and I think maybe if I had more time, it wouldn't matter so much. But I just found it extremely inconvenient. So it's interesting that you brought that up.
You know what? It's actually funny that you say that because you know what? This is what we do. This is what we do. What we do is that we think short term. We think how much time it's taking us right now to record, how much extra time we're wasting to record this thing. And you're absolutely right. Short term, it is going to take a little bit longer because you have to take out your phone, you have to record, you have to revise, you have to check, you have to go over your numbers. That is going to take extra time. But it's saving you time in the long run. The reason being is because, um, for example, today you know your numbers because you have them recorded.
Mm-hmm.
The next chest day, the numbers are right there. You know what you're aiming for, and at that point, what's happening day by day is that you're going straight for your best rep, like your best number versus speculating. What did I do last week? Did I do 45 pounds? How many reps did I do? Did I do this much? When you have a number that you're focused on and a number that you know that you have to beat, it saves you so much time
Mm.
because that's your focus now. Your focus, your and like working out takes so much focus, and especially like gaining muscle and gaining strength, it takes so much focus. It's unbelievable. Like it's one thing when you have muscle, like mind to muscle connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to. It took me so long to learn that, Rico. Like, and then when you have the numbers, you know what the heck you're going for. You know what you're aiming for. That's it. Like you're going in there like a bull versus wandering around trying to figure out what you did last week and whatnot.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. What I like to say with professional martial art or like what is boxing, any it's all about setting goals and achieving them. Is what it comes down to, and you're absolutely right about that. I guess my situation would have been a little bit different for the simple fact that you have work that you kind of that's like my
Yeah,
primary goal, where
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like if I'm just waking up, getting out of bed, and going into the gym, where I'm not on a time restriction here now, right? So it definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense, and I think also too, just having that record to say it's a reference point, but it's also like saying, okay, cool, can I beat that record? So you're always looking forward to beating that record.
a lot of times it was very hard for me to go to the gym because I had no goal and I had nothing to aim for.
Mm,
Um, so when I started recording those numbers, I I see myself like getting out of bed to go to the gym more often because that's it. I knew what I was going for. I knew what I was shooting for.
right.
And all my mental focus, all my um, like everything was basically being, how do I put this? Um, I was rounding up all my energy just to beat that number. That's it. Like that's the only thing that was on in my mind at
Hmm.
that moment. So that's why I feel like it requires a lot of focus, but it helps you focus. I don't know if that makes sense. It's a lot easier for you to shoot for something.
Yeah. Well, it's a discipline, right? It's discipline mechanisms. So if you're able to discipline yourself, then you should have. I mean, you will always encounter some hill that you have to climb, but the fact that you're disciplined, you have a plan now that you can stick to, rather than trying to wing it all the time, which for the long run, like you said, it's not beneficial. But for the some short term, it's beneficial because you can see it right now. We're going to cut into we're going to cut to when you start to do sketch comedy, because I'm sure a lot of people that will be watching this want to know how this came about, how you approach it, where your inspiration came from, because now you're a personal trainer, and then you start this whole thing. But this was after I was out of Windsor, and by now I'm over here. And yeah, and I see this one day, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. That he's doing this. That's cool. So let's talk about that.
So I even started YouTube in the beginning. While I was in school, we were finished just before we were about to finish our studies. I remember um, they were talking about Good Life and like the way Good Life was pricing personal training sessions.
Hmm.
And on average, it's $49.99 an hour plus tax.
Right. Yeah.
Which is I get it, it's an average, but to me that was like a huge steal, man. Like not like basically the way I understood that was the wealthy was only privileged enough to get fit, to get healthy. I'm like, you know what, man? No, screw this. This is a steal, and I do not have the heart to charge people $50 an hour, um, for them to feel better about themselves. That's where the idea of YouTube came in. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start my own fitness channel and whatnot, and I did. Um, the way I started off the YouTube was a first video. I don't know if you remember, but I recorded at the YMCA. And
I don't
it was
think I was
basically like,
around. I was around then. I saw the video.
y- yeah, okay. I don't know. It was like a video about a machine, like working your abductor muscles. It was like a muscle that
Yeah.
you only see. It was like a machine that you only see like women hopping on, but I was basically advertising it as um an important muscle for men to work out as well, especially because it helped out with the squat. Um, the one thing I did differently when I first started out, is that I was giving fitness tips, but I was making it very like comedy sketch, like you said.
Right.
I was making it as like a comedy sketch, and I was kind of like putting in like my own spice to it. Because I obviously wanted to kind of like flourish and kind of stand out from like different fitness channels. That was the beginning of Aurora. That was the name. It still is Aurora. The only
Right.
difference is that now it's just Aurora. Back then it was Aurora Fitness. That was like my first channel, first video, all that. So that was the background for that. That's how I navigated into that.
Wow. And now, so you start Aurora, and because initially your first videos you're working with like people and whatnot, and then next thing I look, you stop working doing videos for a while. Like it happened to all of us. We get extremely busy, and for whatever
Yeah,
reason, maybe we're just not inspired. The inspiration isn't there, or we just don't have
yeah,
an anchor on this whole thing yet. But there's
yeah,
something else going on that's keeping us away from our own creative touch. And so you disappear for a while there. You reappear. I think that was like a year ago or so. Um, I seen a sketch of a cartoon character. By now, I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy. This man's doing cartoon, like, because I can't even fathom cartoon. I can wrap my head around the whole thing. So I guess before we even get to the cartoon part of it, I wanted to know, like, what was your experience shooting videos and working with people, that either had acting experiences or had no acting experiences. What are we looking at in terms of the time? How was that
okay.
entire experience? Just take her on
And
that journey there.
so here's what happened, and like for whoever's listening to this podcast, man, I'm gonna tell you guys something. Like in terms of your mental state, in terms of the mental state that you should be in to become successful, to make anything, even like a small business or something as small as the YouTube channel work, is this. And I'll tell you what the state of mind is. In the beginning, what happened was that I was working with people. So, like you said, right? It was actually a really good point you made. I was working with people, meaning that my videos and my work was depending on people. So that was mistake number one. Um, and what was happening was that I would try to get people in on some videos, they would flop. I was on a schedule. I was uploading every Friday. So we were super consistent for 20 weeks. We didn't miss a single episode for 20 weeks when we first started.
Mm-hmm.
Every Friday. And we did not want to break that chain. So when people wouldn't show up, we literally last minute would have to like flip the script just to record, edit, and post on time because that's it. That's what people were expecting. So another lesson to take from this is that consistency is a lot. It is almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when I had the most followers. Not because my content was amazing, but because people were expecting and they got what they expected. So I had a partner of mine. He life happens, so we start kind of like shifting apart. He wasn't able to be as consistent anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I fell off because I was depending on his consistency, which was mistake number one, right? Depending on people to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out for a bit. I didn't do anything for a while, and then I came back. Not the I didn't do animation yet, but when I came back, I was working with a stronger editing program. I was telling you about the green screen. I was getting that down. I was getting the lights.
Right.
I had like $1,000 camera recording. The lights by themselves will cost me like, I swear to you, I think like 500-600. You know this, like 500-600 easy. You know that.
Right, for the lights. And how many lights are we
Yeah, for the
talking
lights.
about? Are we discussing one set of lights, three set of lights? What are we talking about
Three.
here? Three
I'm
lights.
talking like three.
Are
Yeah,
these
three
are
lights.
these LED lights?
Yeah, there were LED lights.
They were LEDs, like, and were they like dimmable or non-dimmable?
Say that one more time.
Were they dimmable lights? Or in other words, some LED lights gave you the
Oh,
options. You could dim them so that you could control the lights basically.
it was not. You know what?
Okay.
It was either on or it was either off or just really high. No, I didn't. I didn't have that option. But like they did the job.
Okay,
They
copy
did
that.
the job. Yeah, man. And like I said, like you know this, man. You know how this photography thing goes, man. Like especially when it comes to recording videos and whatnot. Like everything. Here was my issue. Everything had to be on point. My mood had to be on point.
Right.
My face was on camera, so basically, I had to make sure that I was freshly cut, freshly shaved.
Right.
I was
You need to
presentable.
wear your makeup and do the whole 9 yard. You need to look fresh. And people don't realize this, right? People just think that, oh yeah, well, you just come up and jump in front of a camera. It doesn't work like that. Once again, I like to thank you guys for tuning in to 18th Avenue Podcast. If you're just tuning in here, I am currently remotely conversing with Haider. He's an animator, started as a personal trainer. Did some comedy sketches on YouTube there for a while, and he got pretty major, as major as a small guy can get. And today we wanted to have this conversation, and he actually a friend, also from Windsor as well. So thank you guys for joining us and just for staying with us. And if you're enjoying this kind of content, clearly I will have no problem just giving you more of this kind of content. The reason I'm having this is because I want to put you guys up on game so that you know what goes into it. Being a cameraman or being a guy or script writer is it takes a whole lot more than just one person to make it happen. And he's just telling us his experience today. So once again, you're now tuning into 18th Avenue Podcast. Thank you so much, Haider. Sorry for cutting you off. Let's continue.
No, man, do your thing, man. Do your thing, man. But yeah, man, like at that point too, like I was just saying that, like everything had to be like spot on, and there was the standing was really tough, like because I had to memorize my script, not the whole entire script, but I had to memorize like a sentence or two, and I when I would say the lines, I had to make it look like it wasn't scripted.
Right. You had to act
So
it out.
I had to act it out, yeah, and like it was like kind of like word for word sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of mistakes. So there was a lot of reshooting. I would have to stop, record. Um, Eventually, like my legs would give out. When my legs gave out, you can see it on my face. Um, my I couldn't even maintain a smile. I had to, when you had to like how you have to like kind of stop, drink
Right.
water, get some sugar, some quick sugar to get
Right.
that quick
Right.
high right now, and you know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Your sugar level is too low, so you need to get more sugar in you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like that, man. So basically, like recording, and then the lighting had to be on point. So like for whoever is thinking about like doing a YouTube video, or YouTube channel, it's not. It, if you're being as technical as I was, you're gonna have a hard time. But if you're just trying to have some fun, you don't mind making mistakes, you don't mind learning as you go, you will definitely have a lot more fun than I did. But I was just trying to be very technical all the time, and that was very exhausting. So the recording was an issue. It took forever to do that, and then when I did get the recording down, the editing, the
Yeah.
editing.
What did you use?
You're
Just
laughing, man, because you know it's good.
what did you sorry, what did you use for editing? What are you using
I
right
used
now at this point for editing?
um what I used from before and now is Adobe Premiere Pro,
Okay.
um Adobe products. Um the thing is with Adobe products, man, is that when they're working, they're good.
Yeah,
But there was a lot
welcome to
of
the life of technology. This is what it's all about. When they're working,
when
they're
they're
freaking
working.
good. They're great. They're awesome. You can sell a dozen of them to anybody, to 8 billion people in the world. They're great. But when they go south, it's a nightmare. All right,
You
cool.
can't do anything about it, man.
So man, now I like what you said here, and I want you to just elaborate on this for a second. You said, I was depending on people to be successful. That's crazy. Now,
Yeah, that was like mistake number one.
I
Easy,
actually
man,
have
easy.
mistake number one written here, depending on people to be successful. So clearly you didn't enjoy that. So then you decided,
No.
okay, you know what? I'm going to switch this. Where did the idea for animation come from? Like, where do you go from, yo, I'm stressed out. This is horrible. I need to do something else.
Okay, so here's what happened. So like I was saying, like the recording was being really annoying. I had to worry about my mood and all that. So there was a lot of inconsistency. Um, and there was a lot of things that there was a lot of stars that had to line up for me to look good on camera.
Right.
I didn't want to deal with that anymore. That's number one. Number two, the editing. The editing, I was spending like over 100 hours just sitting down editing, and this is when it hit me the hardest. I'm in Windsor right now. Um, Now the thing is about Windsor is that it's not like you have like Toronto or like California or something like that, or where you have like a lot of big people coming out.
Right.
It's it's a lot of uh, I want to say like it's not. I haven't met too many ambitious people in the city, so there's a lot of mentalities that are very low.
Right.
That's that's not good. That's not good for growth, because what happens is that you have one or two people. You either have the people that keep you down, or the people that try to bring you down.
Right.
Not all the time, but that's like the That's like the main mentality.
Right.
So I guess what I'm trying to say, man, was that it was very hard for me to grow in the city. So here was like mistake number two. Mistake number two is that I was depending on my locals in the city to give me a shout out, to bring me up into the world, right? So what
Right.
was happening was that my mentality was, okay, I need to make these videos good enough, and and I got to emphasize on this. I have to make these videos good enough for my locals in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. I was doing that, but when the locals in the city wasn't showing too much support for whatever reason, like things happen,
Right.
I started to realize like I was spending 200 hours on one video to get, I swear to you, like no more than like 40 views on YouTube.
Wow.
So I looked at that and I'm like, hold up. Am I seriously putting this many hours to only get this much in return?
Right.
And then I realized what was the issue. The issue was, okay, because I'm depending on just the city, a city of 238,000 people to impress.
Right.
I'm only, I flipped my whole entire mentality up, man. I'm like, you know what, man, screw it. Instead of making something good enough
Yeah.
for the locals, how about I make something good enough for the world?
Now you're thinking bigger than you're thinking bigger than just your surrounding, or at least what you can see.
Yes, exactly. Because when I was making videos, like it was already abnormal to stand in front of a camera and make comedy sketches in the city.
Right.
Here's the thing: it's abnormal here, but how many of them do you see on YouTube or all around the world? Too many. Like you're gonna get flooded.
Right.
But when you flip your mentality to, okay, hold up, all right, what can I do to shock the world? Like you said, you start thinking bigger, you start having bigger ideas, you start having like bigger ambitions, you start shooting for higher stars.
Right.
Animation came up. The reason why animation was huge is because the one thing I had a hard time doing was grabbing people's attention
Mm-hmm.
from the first 5 seconds.
Okay.
You see a lot of people, like almost anybody can stand in front of a camera and just talk.
Right.
Anybody can do that.
Right.
We see it all the time. We see kids doing it.
Right.
Anybody can do that. So so those type of videos, if you don't have the right target audience, you're gonna have a lot of people losing interest the first 5 seconds.
Right.
Now, if you have a cartoon speaking to you, you have colors, you have, and this is just a presentation. This isn't even like the content or what you're actually talking about.
Right.
But when you have things like this moving around, you're catching a lot of attention. You're catching a lot of eye movement. You're catching ears. The colors are getting you the sound effects. And then when you make anything in animation, anything is possible. That's it. You've opened the doors to anything is possible. You can one time be a snake, the next time you could be like a hippo talking. Like
The sky's the limit.
the sky's the limit. That's it. So that's the thing too, man. I didn't want to have an issue grabbing people's attentions anymore. I wanted to grab it from the first 5 seconds. And when people see something that they don't know how to do or they can't do, it fascinates them.
You're absolutely right. And I think that's something that we all have to learn is if you're going to tell people a story, you can't tell them a story of something that they're so aware of. It has to be a fresh, or even if it's like the same idea, because it goes back to that old saying where no ideas is new under the sun. But every time someone else does it, they have to make it their own and make it slightly different from the original person that made it. So yeah, I completely see that, and I do find this whole animation thing extremely fascinating. I think I told you the other day when we had that conversation that I'm pumped up. I go to do a logo, and this thing take forever. And I'm driven. I'm pulling my hair, and I don't even have much hair, amazingly. So I knew
You
then,
did tell me about that. Yeah.
right? I knew then that this whole concept of animation, I don't really understand it so well, and I don't know. I don't have the patient threshold to sit there and really wrap my head around it. So the fact that you're doing it is just fascinating. So how would you compare this experience with video making and having to sit there and edit it and animation? What's the difference? What is it? Time saving? What's going on here?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna tell you in terms of the time saving. I'll answer that in a bit. Because it's it's not like a one way answer.
Right.
But in terms of the switch and the difference, so much better. The only reason being is because I was talking about consistency, how you have to have like the stars aligned, your mood has to be good, your energy
Right.
levels have to be good, the
Right.
lighting has to be good, all these things have to be good.
Right.
I didn't have to worry about that anymore. And animation, here's what I do. I write the script, which is what I was doing anyways, and then here's the like now that you mention it, it's actually so much like this is what I was doing. From before I was memorizing my script and that's why it took me so long to record.
Right.
Now I have the privilege to read off my paper when I
Right.
record.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. So I didn't have to memorize my lines. I just had to read off the paper. So that was number one. Number two, I didn't have to worry about my visual. I didn't have to worry about what I looked like on the camera. I just had to worry about what I sound like. Is it clear? Is there energy in my voice? That's it. Like that's the only thing I have to worry about.
Wow.
Now here's the beauty. Now here's the most beautiful thing in terms of time saving. Like I'm not talking about completing the video, but just recording.
Right.
Um, the video recording. I swear to you, I think I was spending at least like 80 hours plus just recording the video, not editing, just recording.
That's when you're
80
doing.
hours.
Yeah, we need to let the people know. But this is the time when you're actually just doing. You're doing what at this point? I say
Oh,
that.
the 80 hours.
Yeah, the 80 hours. You're
Yeah,
actually.
sorry,
That's
continue.
when you're doing sketch comedy, right?
Yeah, the
Okay.
sketch comedy in front of the camera.
Got it.
80 hours.
Right.
Animation, recording, 40 minutes.
Crazy.
That's your difference. I went from 80 hours of recording, not
To
editing,
40
just
minutes.
80 hours to 40 minutes.
I think I need to get
And
into
40
animation. I think I'm definitely in the wrong thing.
And we're not even talking 40 minutes of like 40 minutes and I'm still making mistakes because I'm trying to, sometimes I read too fast off the script and I make mistakes. So
Right.
40 minutes with mistakes.
Wow. That's
And then
incredible.
that was a huge flip. That was like, I was so happy about that. And then the editing. I was spending 100 hours on editing alone because I had to get the effects right. I had to get the text right. I had to get the green screen by itself was an issue, man. Because the green screen, you're laughing because you know what's good.
I have a green screen story, and I think people who know me and have been around me recently, if they hear me, the moment I mention anything green screen, they're just gonna start laughing because they see in the video, they see my struggle, and maybe if you guys are lucky, I would. Yo, okay, cool. Just go on with your green screen, man. Cause my green screen, oh boy, that was crazy. All right, you go on.
But we both know the struggle. So the green screen, if the lighting was off, I could not switch the picture properly. And if the lighting was on and everything was good, no problem. The only thing is, I had to do it. The green screen, just switching the picture and the background by itself would take me like a whole day to do.
Wow, a whole
It took
day.
me a whole day.
I
And
can
we're talking,
relate.
like,
I know.
yeah,
Wow. Are you guys listening?
you know exactly.
The green screen would take this man a whole day just to switch the picture. and get the and when you're switching the picture, what are you looking for? Are you trying to get the color, the color correction right? You're trying to get the color grade.
Yeah,
Are you even in color grading stage?
yeah.
What stage are you in?
Basically, when I was using Adobe Pro, it was uh, I somebody taught me this trick on YouTube. So the only thing, look, if the lighting was good in the recording, it was easy. It was like literally like a couple clicks away, and I'm good.
Like a
Um,
5 seconds, 5 10 seconds.
yeah, something like that. It's one of those things where you have to take your time to learn how to correctly switch it. After that, it's just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. It was easy. It was just time consuming. That's
Okay.
all that is because you had to get like these coordinates, and I don't want to bore people, man, but you had to get some numbers right. Um, there was like a lot of calculation, and then you got it. When you got it, you got it. But the issue with the green screen is that if the lighting wasn't good from the start, that's
Right.
it. You're done. Screw. Like, forget about it. There's no program can help you at that point.
Okay, so for people who don't know anything about green screen, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. We'll come back to this. I just want to
No,
explain.
no. Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
Let me break this thing down to them. People, especially for clients and stuff that don't have any idea what's going on, when they tell the videographer, I just need you to do like a 30 seconds or like a 5 second video for me on green screen. Here's what happened. So you get your green screen. That's number one. Next, you need to get the lights. That's number two. And you need to get light for two set of things. One is to light the green screen, which you lit. The next light is to light your subject. Am I right so far?
Yeah. No. Whatever you're gonna say is more than correct because you're in photography, so you have to worry about this stuff more than I do.
Yeah, but even with like video too, because
It's the same thing. It's the
it's
same
the
thing.
same it's the same
Yeah.
principle because if your green screen is not lit right, what happens? You don't even want to know what happens when you try to
No.
get
No.
rid
No.
of
No.
it.
No.
It goes
So
all kinds of crazy. Okay, my man. So we got that out of the way. Continue.
yeah, man. So the green screen thing was out of the way. Another thing. Uh, Another thing that really saved me a lot of time. Well, that's what it was, right? I had to find a lot of times I had to find like relatable videos on YouTube to kind of like squeeze in there. So basically, like I would kind of like make a statement and then bring a video in there from YouTube to kind of like relate and tie it back to what I was saying.
Oh,
Here's the thing,
okay. Oh,
you
wow.
know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so what
I
would
tried
happen
that a
is
few
that
times. I hated that.
because you find sometimes you find the video, sometimes you don't. If you don't find the video, you have to switch gears. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you do find the video, good for you. But you probably spent a lot of time looking for those videos too.
Right.
Um, so I got tired of that, man. I'm like, you know what? Like this is where my mentality was. Like it came to a point, Rico, where not I didn't want to depend on people, and I didn't even want to depend on on YouTube anymore because I'm like, you know what? If I can't find these videos, I will make them. If I cannot find scenarios to tie back to what I was doing, I will literally draw them.
Wow.
Like that's the type of freedom I want. Like I sacrificed months and months and months um of just sitting at home studying the course and whatnot as if I was like going into an exam and whatnot. And I did all this work for freedom because I wanted to be able to control every single outcome. The
So
way my
you're
video starts and ends, the backgrounds, the noise effects, everything. I wanted to have control of everything.
right.
Yeah.
And you're doing you mentioned course. This course is for the animation.
Yeah, like the courses that I was doing online, they were online courses. They're for animation. So I took a couple courses for just animation foundation, and I took a couple courses that was strictly for the actual program itself. The program I use is Toon Boom. And for a lot of people that don't know what Toon Boom like,
Tumbo.
what
How do you
this
spell
pro
it? Like TUB?
T Toon, so TOON, like
Oh,
in
okay.
cartoon,
Oh,
and then Boom.
oh, Tumboom. Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't have never heard of this, but just to give you guys like an outlook of this program, the creators of Family Guy use this program to make
Mm,
Family Guy.
major.
So it's huge. It's huge, man. This program in the beginning, it's very costly, but I'll tell you guys why I stuck with it. In the beginning, you have one or two options. Either you spend $180 a month to run this program, or you buy it out.
Mm,
If you buy it out, it's $3,000. Now,
wow.
somebody would kind of like look at me and say, "Well, what the hell? Like, why would you spend so much money on a program like that?"
On a
And
program. Why would you spend $3,000 on a program? And I remember I was working in this joint, and at the time I didn't have my computer. Again, sorry for interrupting there.
no,
Um,
do your thing, man. Do your thing.
I didn't have my computer. I didn't have a computer, and I just had my laptop, and I needed something that I knew I was going to get into 4K video making and whatnot, and I needed something that would literally handle the workload. And so what I wound up doing was I, I made an announcement. If you know me, you already know this. I like to project things into the world first before I go ahead and do it. So I made an announcement that I was going to get a computer that cost almost four or $5,000. And
Wow.
so I remember at that time, co-workers was like, "Why in the hell are you going to spend so much money on a computer that's going to cost $5,000?" A lot of the time, people don't understand. It's not like we have the money and we want to waste money. A lot of people spend money. I don't even know what people spend their money on: shoes, clothes, makeup. If you're
Eventually.
female, hair,
Yeah.
um, drinking a lot of alcohol. You know, people spend their money, all kinds of people spend their money on the things that they find is important to them. And for me, the whole idea of camera is extremely important to me in my life, and has been for the last little while, regardless of my level that I'm at right now. But it's a constant work in progress, and sometimes people don't understand that, and it's almost like, I don't know, it's almost like you have to like tune them out, because it's just noise. It's like you're watching a TV and the year is 1960 and your antenna messed up and you get this white noise. And that's exactly what these people sound like sometimes, because they're not you. They don't see your vision. They don't see your passion. They don't see that just being around something like this can save your life. It keeps you away from the streets and being in places that you shouldn't even be in the first place. There's just a whole lot of perks that come with it. Plus, you're learning a new skill set, and people just don't see that. All they look at is the money amount. But yet, these same very people, if they're passionate about a shoe, whether it's Yeezy or whatever the heck it is they're passionate about, they will have no problem blowing $500 on a jacket, or shoes, and etc., etc. So in the run of a year, they've gone through well over $6,000, and at the end of the day, they really have nothing to show for it other than clothes that need to be replaced. So
And
yeah,
you know what? Yeah, you're right.
I definitely
Yeah.
feel you on that. But how strong now at this point did you have to be to tell these people otherwise? Like, hey, listen to me. This is something I care about, and this is what I want to do, and that's why I'm going to spend $3,000 on this equipment. And it's just one equipment. It has nothing to do with all the other stuff that you probably need to get it going. So get into that
No,
for me.
you're right, man. Like the program by itself was $3,000. The tablet, I there are some people there are some animators, especially on YouTube, when they first start out, they start out with like a $50 tablet and then they work their way up. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm spending money anyways. I spent money anyways. Let's just jump to the big guns. So I switched to so I started off with a $500 tablet. Um, it was so big, like it was so big, man, to a point where it's one of those tablets where animators don't even touch
Hmm.
until like they're like 4 or 5 years in. This is the maybe even like 8 years in.
So you
I
got the
bought this like first
you
thing,
yeah, you got the big boy.
the big boy right away, man, because
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Like my mentality was like, man, I already spent all this money on cameras and lights that I was using for video recording that I'm not gonna use anymore. What's stopping me from just just spending on something that I have more confidence in?
Hmm.
So yeah, so you have 3,000 plus $500 for the tablet. The audio was very sparing. It was very like it was the audio by itself was 200-300, which was not bad for you've heard the quality before. It's not that bad for the quality
No,
that
no, no.
comes
The
out.
audio is great. I like it. It works.
Yeah, man.
I told you that. It
Yeah,
works. You don't have to
yeah.
do. I told you. It's work. You know, I've anyway,
And I
that's
believe you, man.
yeah.
When you say it, I believe you, man. Because to be honest with you, I was kind of like worried about the audio, but when I sent you that one file that one day to fix it up, and you're like, "Listen, man, like I didn't even think that there was an issue until you mentioned it." I was really happy about that. I was really happy about that, and that's with like a really poor recording environment, like you were telling about, like the noise bouncing back and forth and
Yeah, yeah.
whatnot, and how. So I was happy to hear that when you told me that, man. But yeah, like so 3,500, roughly around. It cost me roughly around like $4,000 to start this animation gig. But
Wow.
the only reason why it cost me $4,000 is only because I skipped to the big guns, the audio, the tablet, and the program.
Right.
Um, a lot of people don't know Toon Boom too much because they're used to Adobe Flash Animate. Like, for the people watching this, like you guys have probably watched like videos in the old, like old videos of, like stick fighting and whatnot. That was done on Adobe Flash or Adobe Animate.
Hmm. Oh wow.
Now the thing is, yeah, and a lot of people use it. Like right now, the animators in YouTube easily. I want to say like 90 to 95% of them use that program. The reason being is because it's simple and it's easy to learn. It's not efficient. It is not efficient. If you know what's going on, there's a lot of repeating and there's a lot of time being wasted. But people don't want to switch out of it because they're so used to it.
They're so
And
used. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
you told me about this. You know what I mean? That's it. Like your mentality, you don't want to learn another program again. You don't want to go through that again.
You don't. Sadly, there's always better program coming out. So hopefully you
There's
don't have
always
to learn a new program. But I mean, you spend. Uh, yeah, I know.
it's not like
Yeah, I know.
no,
Yeah, I
go
know what
for
you're
it.
saying.
Y- Yeah, exactly. Like it's now the beautiful thing about this is that like I had everything so well because everybody was in a it was already in this bubble where it's like, listen, man, this is a program I know how to use. I know it's not efficient, but I know how to use it. It's easy to learn. I'm sticking with it. I am not gigging out.
Hmm.
I I It wasn't that hard for me to switch to like the bigger program only because before I switched, I had learned to use Adobe Animate like for a couple weeks, so it was very easy for like my mind was very malleable. It was very easy to remold my mind again because it's not like I was using it for years and then I had to switch. I was just using it for like a couple weeks and then I switched.
And then you switch.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say?
that's right.
Um, But yeah, man, you know what, man? Like, if anybody was willing to get into animation, I would definitely suggest Toon Boom. The thing is with Toon Boom is that it's super hard to learn in the beginning. Like, I remember days where I swear to you, I wanted to like bang my head off the wall, like throw my laptop because the thing is, man, is that it's not like one of those programs where it's like if you're stuck, you have a buddy of yours that can help you out.
Or
No,
you
that's
can go
it. If
on
you're
YouTube
stuck,
and get tutorial. Are there many tutorials out there on YouTube?
there there is, but not as much as Adobe Animate. So
Got it.
it's either you go through the whole entire course, or you're lost. Um, Most of my learning happened from just being careful and a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes. That's
Yeah,
how I
yeah.
learned how to use it. Like I had to, if I was not willing to fall into like pit holes, just like in anything you want to learn, if you're not willing to fail, you're not gonna grow. That was my experience with that. I love the program now. The only reason being is because I'm starting to realize that it's such a time saver. Like I'll give you like a really really great example. You they have like this library. So this program has this library, and what you're allowed to do is that you're able to take a certain character, a drawing, a line, even if it's as simple as a line,
Hmm.
an animation like a walking cycle. You're able to take that and just shove it into your library. So if you know what you're doing, there's a lot of things you don't have to do twice.
Got it.
So and like that's amazing because a lot of the reason why like there's a lot of animators on YouTube that go through depression, just straight depression, man. And we're talking like these guys have millions of millions of subscribers, but they go through this depression. Why? Because they're using this simple program that's not too efficient, and there's a lot of repeating. Like they have to redraw the hands, redraw this, redraw that, and they find themselves. And we're talking like full time animators, by the way. Like
That's
these guys get
crazy.
paid to sit at home. They get paid to sit at home and animate, and yet, with all the time in the world, they're pumping out one video, if lucky, once every month. And they talk about the depression, how they get sick and tired of staying in the same room for 8 9 hours straight, 7 days a week, 30 days a month, sort of thing. Only because they're doing the same thing over and over again. And the program I have, man, it's just you do the job once, you save it, move on to the next. My hands, like even like when I switch my hands for my character,
Right.
I don't have to redraw my hands. I
Ever
have
again.
like ever again. So
I
for example,
see.
if I want to make it
That's
fit,
crazy. That's beautiful. Because now you
that's
can.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's absolute. That's incredible. So I
Yeah,
didn't
like that's
realize.
how powerful it is.
I didn't realize that depression was a thing with these online. I mean, I know that
Oh,
eventually
huge.
it's going to crash. It's going to come down to that. But I just didn't think that if somebody was enjoying what they're doing, I mean, but then why would they? I can't find myself. I can't even fathom the
You
idea
can't.
of me getting to a point of this. It could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't, but right now I can't see it happening. That I will get to a point where I'm like, yo, I'm so dissatisfied and I'm depressed. Like this is making me depressed now. So why do these
It's
people feel
crazy.
like
Yeah.
why do they feel like they're stuck in this room? I mean, they can leave the room and go out. You don't have to sit there 7 days a week and do that.
Well, what happens is that that's it, man. Like it's like a job to them. It's become a job to them. Like for example, some animators talk about like their schedule. So they have a set schedule. Okay, 11 p.m. to 7 p.m. Just go, 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 go. Um, which is straight out 8 hours straight. That's that's not good.
No, that's
That's not
horrible.
good. It's horrible. 8 hours going 8 hours straight in anything is not good because there's like this. I don't know how to explain it, man, but it's almost like studying. Studying an hour or 30 minutes at a time is so much more less stressful and it's a lot more beneficial than studying 8 hours at a time because attention span. You know what I mean? Attention span, man. Like, if you tell me to study 30 minutes at a time, I can do that. Tell me to study for 8 hours, man. After the first hour, nothing's going to get absorbed in my brain. I don't even want to feel like doing this anymore.
Right, right.
Animation, it's the same exact thing, man. Like, there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of patience that goes into it. So, if your brain is dying out after 40 minutes, but you're still going for another 7 hours of like of a of a battery that's low, you're not really achieving much, man. Your quality starts to decrease, and you just want that thing done, man. And
Yeah.
you should never be put in a situation where you're just like, man, I just want this video to be done. Especially if you're getting like, that's a dream. Like, that's a dream to get paid to live off of making videos. And you know this, man. Like hopefully, man, one day, man, like, you can make a living off this podcast and whatnot, and you don't even have to like work in the gas or the oil, in the oil field, man.
Industry, yeah, that's the dream. Because, I mean, speaking of which, man, you know, that part of my life is at a point where I really don't enjoy doing it. I initially enjoy just working in oil and gas for the simple fact that, you know, you could make all this money. But I realized that, you know, it doesn't
You said it
fulfill
was
me.
depressing.
It's not fulfilling. And I'm one of these people, like, I check myself every step of the way. If I am doing something or I'm hanging out with you and I know that this relationship has got to a point where it's toxic, then I know that it's time for me to do something about that. You know, I don't like to stay in a toxic environment. I do everything to protect my mind. That's the most important thing, you know. So when
I agree.
so yeah, so I mean, my thing is that's why I said to myself this year, you know, as you know, I also haven't been super consistent with a lot of things that I've been doing. You know, whether it was photography, whether it was video, whether it was uploading content to YouTube, I haven't super been consistent. That's why when you go on my page, on my YouTube page, a channel, you see things that from like 5 years ago. It's like, where has this guy been? I thought he was done,
Yeah,
you know. But
I
at the
told you
same
that, so yeah.
time, there were things that needed to happen. It's almost like life itself is a chapter and everything is an episode. Episodes needs to happen in your life to finally come back to where you truly want to go. And if I hadn't gone into the oil field to make money and be able to buy out my studio and buy equipment and afford all these fancy things that I have now, I probably would never know what it would feel like to have all these things. Now, the other flip side is that I could make a sacrifice and say, well, you know what? Forget working and buying this equipment. How about I just go and do what most people do, what is just like, okay, cool. I'm just going to focus on this and go and do that all the way. The danger about that with me is that, number one, I don't have a mom and dad that are still alive that I can just run to and sleep in a basement or crash on the couch. And even if a buddy really really likes me, I mean, he really has to like me, and he decides to no, I'm being serious. He really likes me, and
I know.
he really really has to like me, and he decides to keep me on his couch. He say, hey buddy, you can stay on my couch. You know, how long is that going to last? You know, there were just certain risks and chances that I couldn't take, because I know that with me personally, when I don't have my own financial bag and when I can't back myself up financially, that's a depression in itself. I know that about myself. So I need to make sure I have all these angles, everything covered. Now I'm in a place where I can say, okay, cool. I can choose. Normally in oil and gas, I'm working 6 months out of the year. I can choose to only work 2 or only work 3, whatever I want to do, and then focus on this a little bit more. So this will actually be the first year where I really, really intend, inshallah, God willing, that I am able to continue to, you know, do these podcasts and just continue to do this because, you know, what other, this is what I love doing. This is what I want to be doing. I don't want to be in, in coveralls all the time. I don't want to be in hard hat all the times. I don't want to look all types of crazy. I don't want to have to talk. I don't want to have to behave crazily to other people in exchange for them to listen to me, and hopefully they gave me some respect. I don't want to have to do that
No,
all the
you're right.
time. You know what I mean? So, and when you're in that
Yeah.
kind of environment, it's basically what sometimes what you have to do. You have to talk to people. They're going to test you. You're gonna rub shoulders with people and all the time. Um, yeah, I'm not even sure how we got to that, but here we are. We
No,
did.
no, look, you're absolutely right. And I think the one thing that me and you have in common, right now is the fact that we've both started something. We've both, like fell off for whatever reason. And this year, 2020, yeah, I'm not like you said this too, man. I'm not like a New Year's resolution type of guy too. Like, it should be one of those things where it's like if change is going to happen, you're not going to wait until the calendar changes. Like you should be changing because of whatever reason, right? You
Hmm.
shouldn't have to wait for the calendar to change. And you said that a while ago. And
Right.
um, but still, man, still like I see how me and you are kind of like deciding. You know what? That's it. Like that's enough. Enough playing games, sort of thing. We're going at this all the way. We're not stopping. No matter how. No matter how many views we get, no matter what people say, what the comment section looks like, we're going at it all the way because the other way, which is working in the oil field, for example,
Hmm.
doesn't look any better.
No,
Like
no,
it's not
no,
like
not at all. And I tell people that all the time. It's like, I just come to realize, man, Hater, is like, it's not even about the money. It's about doing something that brings you satisfaction. Some people are extremely lucky. I have friends that are very, very lucky in the sense that these people went to school, they graduated from school, university, colleges, whatever, and they got into a field that they completely just love. Then you have a guy such as myself who is like, okay, cool. Well, I tried this out, but I don't really like this. I tried this one out. I don't really like it. At first, I really felt like I was telling you guys in my last podcast, is that I really felt like this was all about money. And initially, that's all I wanted was money. It's crazy. But then fast forward now, it's like, buddy, it's not even money. I just want to do something that bring me some satisfaction and hopefully put some goods back into the world.
yeah,
That's what I
yeah.
want to
There you
do.
go.
It's not about the money. Forget the money, because if I want money, I just stay in oil and gas all the time and just suck up to
Mhm.
everybody that I know. That's gonna get me money. But that's not. That's really. I mean, I sound like a freaking gypsy right now, because gypsy they never want money. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sleep outside or in a cardboard box. But at the end of the day, I'm just saying that if your sole purpose for doing something is the money, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. For years since I've been in photography and videography, I've basically undercharged my clients.
Oh yeah,
I've undercharged my clients. I've basically been working for free all this time. I didn't charge enough to even cover the costs of my laptop or my computer here or my Mac here if it fell down and break. I didn't even charge enough. What I was charging wasn't even enough for me to cover my cost of my equipment that I would take, that I need to do the job, from the desk to the Mac. It's crazy. But I come to realize that throughout all of it, I said, look, I wanted to get to a point where I can look at somebody and be like, you know what? Okay, I did that. That's done with. I'm over that chapter now. This is the new chapter that we're starting. This is where things are going. And I just actually finished a business course too, which was actually pretty cool. So it taught me
nice.
a lot. That's probably why yeah. But
That's
I've been
important,
thinking
man.
about that a lot.
That's important, man.
Very important.
I'm
Very
really happy
important.
you did that, man. I'm really happy you did that, man, because like you have a way better idea what your value is, and you're not second guessing anymore.
No, no,
And
no.
like we spoke about this, man, like in terms of like the pricing and whatnot, that's okay, man. Like you don't it's not like you want a whole bunch of clients that are bargaining with you anyways.
Right.
You don't want those kind of clients anyways. You want like the type of clients that are like, listen, man, like We know the value of your work. We're willing to give you the value of the work.
Right.
You're that those are the type of clients you want to attract, anyways, right? So that's why I say to everybody, man, don't lower your value, man, because whatever value you put for yourself, that's what people are gonna see eventually.
Exactly. It's like, it's like, I mean, what do people first? The first thing people know about you is your appearance, right? It's people judge you first by your appearance. It doesn't matter.
Hmm. Hmm.
You show up, they're like, oh, okay, cool. There's hater right there. And then people see your appearance. They don't know who you are. They can't distinguish you from the guy from Boondocks. Like, that's all they see. So it's all about value, and it's really all about, it comes down to what you can and cannot do. If you gotten to a point in your life where you're like, yo, this is what it is, that's great. And you know what, maybe the city, like for instance Calgary have 1 million people plus, right? But it was also understood that even though there's this million people, but there's a lot of competition around. There's a lot of videographers. There's a lot of photographers here in the city. I mean, nowadays with a smartphone, you're a videographer and a photographer at the same damn time. And all you had to do was go buy the smartphone for $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000. Nowadays, you can spend like $3,000 on these things. So there's competitions around. There's always going to be people who, you have Nike prices and then you have pay for less
Oh
prices.
yeah,
So these are like
oh
two
yeah.
different. So really, if you want to buy the Yeezys, well, this is the cost for the Yeezy. The Yeezy costs $500 to $3,000, whatever. That's the cost. Or you can just go into Walmart and pick yourself up a $29 shoes. Who really give a damn? At the end of the day, if you as a customer, you feel like the Walmart shoe is best for you, then who am I to argue that, look, you shouldn't be wearing a Walmart shoe? And it's the same way you kind of have to approach this business that we're in, because it's visual art. We're talking like 100 hours being invested behind trying to edit. We're talking 200 hours. We're talking 300 hours, 400 hours just sitting there. And we're not even considering when the client look at the work, they're going to be like, no, I need you to go back and kind of change this and change that. I need you to do this one and do that one. We're not even accounting for all this stuff. What happens when you have to leave your place of business to go meet the clients? Are you putting all this into your pricing and the cost and everything? So if a client simply doesn't understand that, then your attitude has to be that, look, I appreciate you and thank you for thinking about me, but I think you should go down the street to Joe Bob. He has a great iPhone that he paid $3,000 for. He will have absolutely no problem taking your picture or doing your video and whatnot and cutting it up and sending it to you. You know what I mean?
No, you know what? Yeah, you're right. It's funny. It's funny, but it's true. There's so much truth into what you just said, man. I like the Nike thing. I like how you came up with the Nike thing too, because that's what I mean. Like in terms of value, a lot of people like we do this all the time consciously, especially like when we're searching up like a type of shoe or a product online. A lot of times we go for something because it has the higher price tag, we just correlate it to better, higher value.
Right.
And
Right.
that's not always the case,
Right.
but that's like another way too, right? Like if you're putting up a higher value for yourself, people eventually are going to turn around and be like, okay, well, his pricing is high because his quality is high. Right away, they're going to correlate those two together, even if it's not even true. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that also means that when you're putting a low value on yourself, or low price on yourself, you're getting screwed in both ways.
Yeah,
Number
yeah,
one,
exactly. There's no benefits.
you know where I'm going.
Yeah, yeah.
You know where I'm going.
there's no benefit. You can't win. So you might as well get to a point. Like, look, one of the things that I really admire about you, and I have to say this, is that stubbornness. I think
I'm
it's
so
what,
stubborn.
yeah, it's you have to be stubborn to stay around this, to be able to do this where sometimes you're not even making money. I told myself, I'm like, you know what, sure, I have a few clients, but honestly, I don't want to have a whole bunch of clients that's going to give me a whole bunch of headache. I want to have a client that, when you have a client, like right now I'm dealing with a client, and this woman just appreciate what I do so much that, I mean, why wouldn't I want to bend over backward for clients like that? You know what? She was the first client to tell me that you don't charge enough for your for what you do.
You know
And
what,
she
man?
wanted,
There you go.
yeah,
There you
she
go.
she wanted up after I did the work for her. She went ahead and double. She paid me double what I asked her. This happened last
That
year.
was, that's amazing, man.
So
That's
I was
amazing,
sitting
man.
there like, okay, if she can see value in what I do, and she sees so much value that I'm not talking tipping here. Nobody tip you, but she pays double for it. I didn't even ask for it. That's when I just, I just started thinking about the whole thing. I'm like, yo, my man, you need to change your strategies around. You need to narrow things down to, okay, cool, what clients you can. If a client say, look, they don't want you, let them go somewhere else because it's so much more better on the other side, right? Let that stress go to someone else because what we do is visual art. If I mess it up and you post it on Facebook, I give it to you, your friends are going to see and be like, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? But because it's visual art, and I know like you're passionate about what you do. If you get hired to do an animation to do it tomorrow for clients, of course you want to give it your best. You're not going to say, yo, because I'm underpricing this clients, and therefore I'm going to give him underpriced result, right?
Yeah, there you
You
go.
know what
Yes,
I
yeah.
mean?
It's like a haircut. Just like a haircut. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you pay $5 for the haircut or you pay $20 or $100 for the haircut. The barber still got to give you the haircut.
Hmm.
You can't say, yo, this is a $5 haircut and give you that.
You're right.
But if you go back home and you bring me an additional $95, hey, guess what, buddy? I'm going to now give you a nicer haircut. Maybe I finish it off. Right? Like,
You're right.
the expectation is still there. You know, because the barber don't want you running around being like, yo, this guy gave me like a crazy haircut. You know what I'm saying? Like, he messed up my hair. Look at this. I gave him $5. People don't even ask, oh, how much did you pay?
No, nobody asked that.
Nobody asks how much did you pay. Everybody's like, who did it?
Exactly.
Let's go get
Where do
him.
I don't go to?
Let's go get him. Who did that?
Okay.
And you're like, yo, Rico did that. So, oh shit. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Keep your kids away now. Rico, don't go see that guy no more. Nobody asked how much did you pay him. People are like, yo, who did it? Where'd you get this shit
You know
done? It's like, yo, Haider did this cartoon for me.
I'm laughing because I don't know how the heck we got into barbershops and haircuts.
It's part of the podcast. It's a conversation.
I know. I'm just fascinated by how he went from technology to haircuts.
Oh man. Well, we've had such a great conversation, and again, I want to thank you and thank everybody else who's watching this podcast, man. Just thank you, and hopefully you learn. If the podcast does nothing at all, we just really hope that you got some value out of it, especially if you're new. To this craft. If you've been doing this thing for 40 years, this podcast is not for you. This podcast is not for people who like, yo, I've been doing podcasts for 40 years. This is not for you. Need to go find another podcast. I have some great podcasts I can recommend for you. You can go watch Joe Rogan. You can go and watch Michael Rappaport. You can even go and watch Michael Moore. It's called Rumble with Michael Moore or something like that. Anyway, you look it up. It's there. All right. That's the podcast you need to go to. If you have freaking 10 degrees, this is probably not the podcast for you, okay? But for everyone else, welcome to this channel. You want to learn? We can all learn together and make mistakes together. My man Haider talk about a lot of mistakes. He making mistakes. What I come to learn is that, we have to want to make our mistake. So Haider, without further ado, give these people your last words, advice for people that are just coming up in the game, that haven't been around it for over 5 years, because we both been around it over 5 years. I started in 2013.
Yeah.
You do the math on that. So, Yeah, give these guys your final words and advice and whatnot, and I will come in and wrap it up.
The only thing that I would say at this point, man, is that first of all, like, don't definitely do not be afraid to fail. It's not only don't be afraid to fail, but you need to fail to be able to know what angle or what works best. That's number one. Number two, whoever tells you that you have to go to school to learn something is a liar. Especially because like this like I'm still learning, but animation I learned it in 3 months by myself through online courses. People are taking 2 3 year programs at school, so everybody does the math for that, and people want in debt. Um, versus me, I the courses only cost me like no more than $60 $70. So that's number two, man. Number three, purpose, man. Purpose, because there are some days you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be like, why the hell am I doing this? And and your purpose has to be giving back to the world. When your purpose has to do with giving back or helping somebody, that's the outcome of it. I don't think anything is gonna fuel you more than that, because you're whatever happens at the end of the day, nobody knows. We don't know when we're gonna pass. We don't know when we're gonna die. So it's always good to have that mentality. What can I leave for this world? Like, that's always my mentality now. It's
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of times, like I said, like, if I don't have that mentality, you can fall into deep depression of just looking at a tablet and drawing all day by yourself in a room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what drives me to not go into that wall, is that purpose. Okay, I'm doing this for the outcome of helping somebody, to get somebody out of a dark place, confusion, to help somebody get out of a certain suffering. And like I said, man, if I can leave the earth, which I don't know when it's gonna happen, but if I can leave the earth, leaving content like that or leaving something like that, I will feel fulfilled. And I think everybody should think like that when it comes to their passion or what they want to do for the rest of their life, man. What they want to leave behind for everybody else. I think that's like the big takeaway.
Man, you said it all. You said it all.
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything else aside from thanking these people for tuning into this podcast. This is I believe, Haider, you are officially the first guest on this
Yeah,
podcast.
man.
So
I feel happy about that, man.
yeah.
I
You
feel
know,
so good about that.
it's crazy. You know, and just I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. I know that, as you guys can see, we are remotely into my device here. Everything is connected. It's being recorded separately. My phone is here, but we're not actually using it for that. I simply just called him up and everything is being recorded into the device. So that's great. I wanted to be able to do this because I know that sometimes it's, you know, I have so many friends that are around the world that are doing different things. And over time, I want to encourage these people and say, look, I think that we can have a podcast. We can come on here and chop it up for you know, an hour, 2 hours, whatever, and have all this valuable ingredient to give to the people out there, because I've been through it. I've been around this thing for well over 7 years now, so I'm in it. I've been through it. I've passed the we made the mistake. Haider talk about failure. You know, you need to fail. You need to want to fail, because I meet people all the time and they tell me, you know, I would just want to have like a very professional this and a professional that. But let me tell you something, you know, having it sounds great to say, to walk up to your friends and be like, look what I did today. It's so professional. That's fantastic. But I remember when I did my first video, I shot my first video on an iPhone 3G. Hello.
Oh yeah.
I shot, you remember this video? I shot
Yes,
this video
yes.
on this music video on the iPhone 3G. Do you really think at that point I was thinking about, let me be professional? Because if I was waiting to be professional, I would have never gotten that experience. I would have never thought that I have a thing for editing video and putting things together. I would have never thought that. Why? Because I'm waiting to be professional. That's probably why a lot of people go to school, and I'm not knocking school. You want to go, great. But just know why you're going, because a lot of people are coming out of school and they ain't got nothing else. They hate their job anyway. So, I mean, the world is changing around us, and the world is simply changing because we want to change with it, right? If the world can change, the world cannot change without us. And the fact that we're changing with it, therefore it's changing. And I get that, and that's cool. So another thing that my man touched up on here was that someday, yeah, it is hard. You want to give up, but just having that purpose and remembering why you're doing it and your reason, the reason to do something has to be greater than your reason to want to give up. That's the way you succeed. Like I go to the gym, for instance. My reason to want to stay healthy and have nicely tuned muscle, has to be greater than my reason to want to stay in bed and be lazy and missing gym. That's how you get it. That's how people get through school. But see, I could never focus like that on school. I think this whole idea that I needed to go to school and stay there for 4 years really used to bug me out. So welding was just great for me. But again, I'm not knocking education. Look, I want to thank you guys so much. You have tuned into this 18th Avenue podcast. We want to thank you so much for being with us. We want to thank you for the support. And recently, I see that my subscription is going up, guys. Give yourself a round of applause. I will try to find some effects. Yeah, man. I will try to find some effects and get that on there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been 18th Avenue Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in again. Watch the podcast. Let me know what we can do better. We will continue to make mistakes. We're not afraid to make mistakes. I am not afraid to stumble over my words. I was not born in Canada. I am still an African at the end of the day. I'm not afraid to make those kind of mistakes. The point is that as long as I recognize them and I'm willing to fix them up, that's really all that should matter. So I really want to thank you guys. And my man Haider, thank you for joining us, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me, man. I appreciate this a lot.